Hello everyone, I am Suganya, Assistant Professor, Department of Business Administration, Cauvery College for Women. Today, we are going to discuss the topic consumer surplus from the managerial economics. From the consumer surplus, I'm going to cover the topics, a concept of consumer surplus, assumptions of consumer surplus, and the criticism of consumer surplus. Now, we'll see one by one. The concept of consumer surplus. A consumer surplus occurs when the consumer is willing to pay more for a given product than the current market price. We can take an example. Suppose a student goes to buy a book. He is willing to pay rupees 20 for the book, but he gets the book for rupees 15. Thus, he has saved rupees 5. This is called consumer surplus. Now we can see the formula for the consumer surplus. That is potential price minus actual price is equal to consumer surplus. The next topic is assumptions of consumer surplus. So we have 4 points we can discuss. The first one is marginal utility of money is constant. It means that the utility per unit of money remains unchanged for the consumer. So there is no change. Then the second one is no close substitutions available. The consumer cannot choose to purchase something else that's closely related to it instead. So the third one is utility can be measured. It is assumed that utility can be measured in numerical terms, but there was no standard unit for measuring utility. The last fourth point is taste and income as same. We have to assume that there is no changes in the incomes and taste and preferences of the consumers. So these are all the assumptions, right? And the next one is the criticism of consumer surplus. From the criticism also, we have 4 points. The first one is imaginary. It is said that this is a purely imaginary idea. You just imagine what you are prepared to pay and you proceed to deduct from that what you actually pay. So that is a imaginary. Then the second one is difficult to measure. It is difficult to measure consumer surplus exactly. Different people are prepared to pay different amounts, right? So the third one is the surplus exhausted. It is pointed out that if the consumer knew that any such thing existed, he would go on buying more and more till the surplus utility he enjoyed disappeared. This is wrong. A consumer does not run after a surplus yielded by one commodity. Then the last point is not applicable to necessaries. The idea of consumers surplus does not apply to the necessary of life. In such case, the surplus is immeasurable, right? So far we have discussed about what is the concept of consumer surplus and the assumption of consumer surplus and then criticism of consumer surplus. Okay, thank you.